So I'm ready for whoever would like to start and talk about the creation of your NAMI on campus and what you've learned and tips for others.
Yeah, so at Colorado Mesa University, we started NAMI in I think it was 2012, 2011, 2012 school year. And so that was my second year at the college. And when we decided to start that club, I think there was a lot of thought that went into exactly what we were going to do. But the general idea and motivation was that we wanted to make mental health much more visible on campus. We wanted to open up dialogue and conversations about mental health that really weren't happening on campus, at least not at the level that we thought they should. And so I had a group of students who were very motivated. They were all interested in working in the mental health field at some point in their lives, and they they were very motivated to get the ball rolling with that. So we did a little bit of research as far as are resources out there for us that already exist that would help us, start this movement on campus concerning mental health. And a lot of that came out of the fact that at that time, CMU did not have mental health services for students on campus. They didn't exist. And we were one of the largest universities in the nation that did not have any mental health services on campus for students. The university at that time they were paying for, I think, 4 or 5 mental health therapy sessions for the students if they needed them. At a private practice here in Grand Junction, so the students would have to go off campus and drive there, and there was just a lot of barriers in the way. They also had to go to student services first and kind of justify the what they were going through, and then student services would, give them this number, and they could call it, and then they would go. It was like this secret process, and the students really, really did not like that, and they felt like that was adding to the stigma of mental health. And so they were motivated, and we had a cause. And I think having kind of a cause, we had a very clear kind of mission that the students wanted to accomplish, and I think that really motivated them and helped them maintain motivation to make it happen. And we started searching, and I had experience with NAMI growing up because I had dealt with a significant amount of mental illness in my family growing up, and in my own life, personal life. And so I was familiar with NAMI. So NAMI was one of the first places that I suggested they look, and said, let's see if they have anything for on campus, anything for college age kids. And we were able to find NAMI on campus and then connect with our local NAMI Western Slope. And Leslie Kent was the director at that time. And so out of that, we had some great meetings with the local NAMI chapter to kind of plan this out, and was able to get the club started on campus, and it became an official club on campus, and we were able to start recruiting other kids and use the platform of, hey, let's get mental health services on campus for students. They're not there. We need them. And let's see if we can, let the administration and the people at CMU know that this is something the students want. And so we did that. We started putting out the word, having booths on campus, handing out informational flyers we got from NAMI Western Slope. And the next thing you know, it turned into a petition. The students developed a petition. We got over 3,000 signatures on that petition and took it to the administration at CMU. And there was even an article in the local paper at that time about our efforts to get those services. But sadly, at that time, the administration said no. They said they were not going to pay for it. And so we went to ASG. So we decided if the administration's not going to respond, then we're going to use student power. And so we went to the Associated Student Government, who has a budget every year, several $1,000s every year that they can dedicate to different things. We took it to ASG. The students in NAMI made a case for those services. And the student population at CMU actually voted to add an extra fee to their student fees each semester to open up a counseling center on campus. And we combined that with a grant. So then I went out and did some work with the staff at CMU, and we wrote a grant because we had really high rates of suicide at that time on campus. And so we were able to get a SAMHSA grant for suicide, and we used the student fees and the SAMHSA grant to open up our counseling center on campus. And now we have an integrated healthcare center on campus where we have, physical healthcare and mental health care in the same building, and students can see therapists. There, I think they get 5 or 6 sessions a semester free now, which is a big improvement in just a matter of, probably, what was that, about 10 years there. So it was a pretty long journey to get to where we're at. But I really think what helped us getting started is having kind of that clear mission, right? Is we had something we wanted to accomplish. We were able to identify that NAMI was a good organization and path to accomplish that. And it worked. And we have been going pretty strong since then as a club. But I think some of the key parts of that too was the support from NAMI Western Slope was huge, right? And I think one of the biggest things that for NAMI on campus that I've noticed is because I've been involved in the on campus and then just regular NAMI in the community. And I think with the on campus, we have such a lack of resources, right? We're with college students. We don't have any money or anything like that to invest. So being able to get the resources, get the pamphlets, the informational handouts, being able to see what other things NAMI is doing to get the word out and to reduce the stigma were all extremely helpful and served as a guide for us. When we were first getting started. We also connected to Arizona State. So we tried to identify the closest NAMI on campus to us geographically and got a hold of Arizona State University and their NAMI on campus at that time. And they were able to give us some really good tips and ideas about what they were doing on campus, because Arizona State's a pretty big school, right? It's a lot bigger than CMU, and I think they had a lot more people involved in the club and were more active than us at that time. So we had many. At that time, it was Skype. I think back then we didn't have Zoom and things, but we had many Skype meetings with their officers to get suggestions on things. So we really enjoyed having that connection with them. And I think Bella, and so we also have Bella here, right? And so Isabella is our NAMI on campus president. And we'd love to hear from you, Bella, and what are some of the things as NAMI on campus president that you feel like is helpful from NAMI as far as supporting you as a college student, in your efforts on campus with NAMI.
So yeah, definitely the pamphlets and all of that material is super helpful, like you were saying in the beginning of starting NAMI, but it's even super helpful now just with like having our booths in the university center or wherever we have our booths. We have so many resources for everybody, and that definitely helps. I mean, financially and just supporting us is definitely helpful, but I think it is a lot of the material because then it just gives us more areas to be like, look, oh, we have it for every type of person that needs help or doesn't necessarily need help, but just needs a resource for anything, a friend, family, whatever it may be. So I think that's a really big help. Definitely.
Yeah. And we're pretty reliant on those things, right? And we've had assistance from NAMI Colorado. We brought Hakeem Rahim in. Some of you might know. Is that his last name? I hope I'm getting that right. But Hakeem used to be a board member for NAMI National and was out of NAMI, New York, and was a very, very impactful speaker. And we were able to raise some funds at the school, and then NAMI Western Slope agreed to match us those whatever we fundraised, and then NAMI Colorado actually cut us a nice size check too. So we were able to raise a good $8,000 to be able to pay for Hakeem to come and speak. And that was one of our biggest impactful events. And Hakeem was somebody who was a Harvard student and a very highly successful person who had a psychotic break while he was in college. And that event, we had over 250 students come to that event. And it was so popular that we actually brought Hakeem back 2 years later and had another 250 students come to that. And Hakeem, being a part of NAMI at that time, was very welcoming on that second time and gave us a nice break and discount, and that enabled us to bring him in because that event had been so well attended and so impactful on campus. I think everybody wanted to do it again. And so we've had a lot of success with the big events. We've kind of noticed that trend at our university is when our club meetings, so when we have like weekly club meetings or kind of smaller events, maybe in a classroom on campus, we usually don't get a lot of students. We don't get a great attendance, so to say. But when we have these bigger events in the ballroom that we might advertise for a month on campus and really word out not only to students but professors also, and we've even gotten professors to offer extra credit in their classes that are related to the topics, then we've been able to get quite a good attendance, a couple hundred people at these events. And part of me thinks that that's also due, sometimes it's difficult in a small group, right? I think it's more intimidating for students to show up to a classroom where there's only 10 or 15 people in there, because they know the theme of the club. They know we're talking about mental illness. They know we're talking about the stigma. And I think it might be a little more intimidating, at least what I've heard from some students, to show up to a smaller group meeting where there might be more pressure to talk, at least for the first time, than it is for these big events of 200 people where they can come and they can just listen. And if they want to talk, they can talk, but there's not as much pressure on them to talk or participate as there would be in a smaller group. And so I think that's one of the main reasons we've had much more success in these large scale events. We also brought in another guy a couple years. That was Josh, I think was his name. And he wasn't associated with NAMI, but he did a really good speech on his experience with mental illness too. And we had quite a good attendance in that. So we have found success partnering with NAMI Western Slope and in using our resources and fundraising money and kind of combining that with the Western Slope and their resources in order to pull off these big events that do seem to be more effective, at least on our campus. Well, what do you think about that, Bo? What do you think about the fact that we're having more success with bigger events?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't around for those other events, but we were advertising. We were supposed to play the Joker movie this past spring, but because of COVID, we were unfortunately not able to. But I think it would have been extremely successful. I definitely agree that it's not as intimidating going into a group of 200 people versus a group of 10 people. I know even for me, when I first joined NAMI, I was like, I don't know. I was a little hesitant just because it is an intimidating experience to go into just a room of 10 people and you don't know what to expect. But yeah, I mean, I hope that we get to have a bigger event this year or next semester, if that is the case. But I do agree that it's not as intimidating, but I don't know. It's,
Yeah.
I think it helps. I mean, I think it also gets our name out more just because, there's more kids and they're talking about how, oh, like I went to this event for NAMI, or I went to that, versus the same 10, 15 kids coming to our club events. And it just helps get our name out, but it also helps get our message out as well.
Yeah, and we've had to be creative. So to be completely honest, we have received some criticism over the years for some of the things we've done. And I think I've always taken that criticism kind of with a grain of salt. And so to give you an example of that, we have a beer fest on campus every year at CMU, which is one of the biggest events that we have on campus. And so we have done things around that beer fest multiple times. So the last time we did it, we served, we convinced the organizers of the beer fest to let designated drivers in for free, because we thought that would be a really, really good thing to have as responsible. If you're going to drink, let's do it responsible. Let's have drunk drivers. So we got them to do that. And then we also had a booth there set up, and we gave free water, like bottled water and popcorn, to the designated drivers. And we would also give free bottles of water to anybody who came up to us. And then we would also, give some information about responsible drinking and how to, a very much of a harm reduction approach, if we're thinking about it from psychology, and that route. Not, a typical event where you would see a mental health organization at a beer fest, but these are the things our students are doing, right? And I truly believe we have to meet our students where they are at. And if there's thousands of them going to a beer fest, then I think we need to be at that beer fest, and we need to be promoting responsible drinking and responsible behaviors when you do drink. And so that has been one of our best fundraisers, to be honest. We've raised $400-500, and it's just from the people tipping us. We have the tip jar, and we're getting a ton of tips from these people at the beer fest. So I think that's evidence that what we're doing is working, and it's reaching people, despite it being in this somewhat unconventional environment that college is. I don't think you would see hardly any NAMI, at least regional NAMIs, going to beer fests and doing these things. But we've been able to pull that off, and we've had to adjust, right? I think we have to adjust our message to fit our population, because we know that going into a beer fest and telling a bunch of people, especially college students, they shouldn't be drinking alcohol is not going to be well received, and it's not going to help us get our message across. But going in and saying, hey, if you're going to drink, this is how you do it responsibly. We have designated drivers who are here that can take you home if you can't drive. We've got information here on if you feel like your drinking is out of control or your substance abuse out of control. We've got information here on how to get treatment. So, and sometimes we get a little bit of criticism for that, but I think that's okay. I think we're doing what we feel and we know has been effective, and that changes, right? And I've had some groups of NAMI who've been comfortable with doing that, and I've had other groups of students that have been running NAMI who don't want to do that and aren't comfortable with that, and that's fine. So I think I've had to make sure that I'm flexible and that I follow the student's lead, because I'm just another professor, teacher, old guy who's preaching to them. And I think it's much more effective when people like Bella, when their peers and their classmates are giving them this message, and not another professor or another adult who's saying these things to them.
Jake, one question I had was that you had talked about how because your campus didn't have therapists, counselors, that's what was the driving force. As we have some people here from around the state, what do you think would be helpful in terms of outreach to other universities or colleges that may not have a NAMI presence?
Yeah, I think making that connection with someone, whether it's the state organization of NAMI or the regional, because I think our process started with just kind of a random Google search, and then I had my personal knowledge from my life when I was younger about NAMI, and when it really took off is when we connected with Western Slope, and then Leslie at that time was the president, and she was able to really give us some clear direction. because she'd been doing it, right? And she'd been involved with NAMI and was able to help us articulate kind of the details of what NAMI on campus would look like. And so I think for people who are starting and trying to get this off the ground, I think that's one of the most important things is to get in contact with somebody involved with either the state that you're in with NAMI or your regional NAMI. And they can provide you with resources and give you an idea of um, how NAMI can fit into and what they can provide for your campus. And having that support really, I think it also gives you a sense of community, right? I think those students felt like we were kind of on an island by ourselves, just kind of trying to do this. And then once they met, hey, look, here's other people that are part of this worldwide organization who are trying to do the same thing that we are doing. And they've been doing it actually for a pretty long time. And they've got lots of good resources and information for us. I think that was extremely helpful too. And on a college campus, I think it's about the students being motivated, right? This club is not about me. It's not about the faculty advisor. The club is about the students and the students bringing this information to each other. And I think that's one of the big differences I've seen between regional NAMIs and NAMI on campus. Is that it's much more student driven and club driven. I just find myself just getting out of the way so that the students can do their thing. I provide I have the education and the degrees, and I can help them with some of that stuff. But as far as connecting with the students and getting the information out there, I try to get out of the way and let the students take the lead. And I think once they got some of that information from NAMI, then they just took off with it. They were motivated, and they took off.
Well, I guess with that comment, Bella, how have you felt? I know we were talking about that beer event and those big events, but how have you found outreaching? I know that within COVID, it might be a little more challenging, but what ideas would you have in terms of reaching out to student populations?
And really quick, Jennifer, before Bella answers, I wanted to introduce Lily. She's from NAMI Boulder County, NAMI on campus at CU Boulder. So she's the vice president. So she's
Hi there. Yep.
Hi, Lily. Welcome.
Hey, Lily.
Bella's from Colorado Mesa University. She's the president there of NAMI on campus. Just want to make that quick introduction. So go ahead, Bella.
Perfect. Thank you. So yeah, we've just been super big on social media. We have it, so we're posting either every day or every other day. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Our VP actually posts like Awareness Wednesdays right now. So it's different mental health topics, which has been super cool. And then we allow our students to like chime in on their thoughts on it, or if we missed anything, because we miss things, we're human. But yeah, our social media presence has been a really big thing in getting people involved, because it's just a way for them to reach out, and not even if they miss events, they can still see what we're doing, and they're able to see just the different types of things that we have on there, and just to look at it. But as well as like, I think we have had challenges with COVID and with hosting events and everything. It's definitely taken a few weeks to really get on our feet and figuring out like, all right, what can we do as an event, and what's going to keep our student population safe, but what can also be like give information to students. It's been a challenge, but we did come up with, we're doing a chalk event. So in our plaza, we're doing just a bunch of like positive messages, and we'll be out there and students can write whatever they need to that's positive or what they're thankful and grateful for. So that's been a big part. We're also doing a pumpkin carving event, and that just allows people, we're pretty big on promoting self-care, and so it's just like taking the stress off of classes sometimes, just to even go carve a pumpkin, or taking that time to be with your friends and everything. And we're also doing different events for the community as well. Like we're doing notes to a nursing home, so that just writing them little notes to help them. But yeah, I think our biggest presence has been on social media through COVID, just because, I mean, it's hard we can't hand anything out. We typically would have at this point, we would have had our booth out in the UC different times, but we can't have that. And so it is just connecting as much as possible, literally just following any CMU students we see, or just to get them, like, so we're on their radar, like, oh, what is this, if they're not aware. And it is hard to connect with freshmen because we can't go into the classrooms and talk to them as we would with some of our orientation to site classes and stuff like that. But yeah, it is just putting ourselves out there as much as we can without breaking these COVID protocols.
Yeah, and we've actually got a really good opportunity that developed today with COVID. And we just had our club meeting earlier today, and we were talking about that. So we're still working out the details. But one thing we've noticed on campus is that our students are really struggling in quarantine. We're actually losing, and I think this is a national statistic too. It's about 10 to 15% of students who are being put on quarantine in college are quitting, meaning they're getting put on quarantine and they never come back to college. They drop out. And so that's a very concerning statistic. And so we've come up with the idea that NAMI is going to assist in this. So when we have people go into quarantine, we're going to start assigning NAMI officers to them as a mentor, as somebody that these kids in quarantine can reach out to over Zoom or WebEx or whatever it is, and have some of that support. And we're also going to develop some materials, some ideas about how to help them cope with their emotions and how to get through quarantine, because their students are being put in a dorm by themselves for 14 days. Sometimes they're even being sent to off-campus hotels to be quarantined for several days, sometimes weeks, and they're really lonely, like anybody would be. And so we're trying to connect them with some of our NAMI on campus officers so that we can talk over Zoom or whatever. And then we're doing gift baskets, and we're going to put in these gift baskets different suggestions on ways to cope with what they're going through. And then when they get out of quarantine, we're also gonna be there to help them and help them integrate back into the campus, because we've noticed a lot of students are struggling once they get out of quarantine. Then they've got a lot of them have a lot of schoolwork to make up. They've got, they're out and free, and there's a lot of anxiety that comes with that after being, quarantined for many days. So we're going to have our NAMI officers also help them reintegrate back into the campus too. And I thought that was perfect. We were talking about it, and I was like, well, we've got NAMI, and we fight the stigma that comes with mental illness. We can use those same principles to fight the stigma that comes with COVID, because sadly, we have been seeing that on campus. We have been seeing other students who have been treating students who've been quarantined very differently. They've been avoiding them. They've been, saying things to them like, well, you had COVID and I don't want you sitting next to me, things like that. So we're starting to see this COVID kind of stigma pop up on campus. And NAMI, we have the tools to fight that stigma. And so we're going to jump into this here in the next couple of weeks and get involved.
All right. Well, Lily, could you give us some thoughts into how CU Boulder either was formed or is currently working, that if people wanted to have their own NAMI on campus in other parts of the state, what kind of thoughts you have on your chapter?
Yeah, we're doing everything we can, like with NAMI on campus at CU right now, to keep this alive. I know, and I think that's what, NAMIs all over the state are doing as well. Just because it is more difficult now with the pandemic, and we can't be in person with people. But I think because of the pandemic, mental health is so much more relevant right now. I know in the CAPS office at CU, they're super busy, and appointments are booked up with all the therapists they have there. So if we can continue educating people and letting them know about the resources at our school. Right now, we're we're doing weekly meetings and we're talking about the stigma, mental illness, and talking about all these topics and just like checking in with students too. We were able to, in like the Be Involved fair, to me and Fernando to introduce and talk about our club to freshmen. So there's some freshmen that were able to join and like heard of our club because of it. And it's the freshmen too that I'm worried about as well, with all online classes and being completely new to college, and this is their first experience. So if we can help and reach out as much as we can, with social media and letting students know about the resources and talking about these topics, very important.
So I was wondering, and maybe Bella, just because we've talked about this a little bit before, but I'd love to hear Bella and Lily, how y'all plan for the transition of your officers, because as you plan for graduation, that's got to be something that you think about, is how to hand off the order.
Yeah, I'll go first. So when I first came in, I kind of got thrown in mid-semester of last fall, so I didn't really get elected in, and then we did a little bit of position changes with our officers. And then after, so when we went fully online last semester, we had 5 graduating officers, and so that left, well, 4 graduating and 2 and another one leaving. Regardless, we were losing 5 officers, which was like, well, I guess I'm pressed now, and we're gonna just figure it out. And we talked a lot about, did we want to do Zoom elections? What did we want to do? And we kind of just came to the conclusion for this semester, at least, and we brought in who we knew was passionate about mental health and stopping the stigma, and that had really expressed multiple times of like, I want to be involved, I really want to be involved, how do I get involved? And so we reached out to those students, and we only have 2 positions unfilled, just because we decided that for our PR we were able to handle it, but in our community outreach we just didn't fill, because I'm doing that as well. But yeah, I think moving forward, we definitely are going to try and, for Dr. Jones's sake, for sure, get freshmen, sophomores in, so that it's not this constant turnaround, but you are bringing new people in, but as well as just having some more consistency. And I think it was just hard because we didn't know how to hold elections or exactly what to do with that. So we did just end up bringing in people that we knew would be a good fit for the club.
Yeah, with NAMI, we had to undergo some changes with our positions as well. Because last year, the president was Julia Kaufman, and she graduated. But so last year it was mainly me, Julia, and Fernando were the main participants and went to every meeting. So this year, Fernando is the president, and then he asked if I could be his vice president, and I said yes. And so at least we have the consistency of me and Fernando, who have been involved with the club for a little while. And then Nikitha was also the secretary last year and is the secretary this year. And she still wants to be involved and is passionate about it. We created a group chat of like the NAMI board, and we were able to get 2 more people in who are interested in positions in the board, and that's been a thing that we've kind of helped us with recruiting. Me and Fernando are also in AED Club, which is the Honors Pre-Health Society, and we would make an announcement for the NAMI Club, and we got definitely a few people who are interested. Mental health is in the hemisphere of health, and we kind of use the idea that NAMI is a small club. And so we had positions available, and then people were definitely wanting to fill those positions. So that was another thing that we kind of used to try to get some more people involved. Our club is like generally on the smaller side, so there were times last year where our attendance was difficult, but we do have some consistency, and we're just kind of trying to work through all these bumps and difficulties of COVID right now. But yeah.
Both.
So we were talking earlier about how the state could be helpful. So what examples can the state do to help promote the idea of collegiate people being involved? I mean, we did try to encourage. Now, granted, live is, what we don't want, of course, but about a person who died by suicide. Sadly, I think it was last year, and so trying to at least have the conversation on suicide. But I mean, I don't know what other things when we have virtual screenings of things. If there's other ideas that we can promote the idea that everybody can have mental health. I don't know who wants to take that on.
Well, I have a quick thought, Jennifer. I think, when we were talking about NAMI Colorado is going to be completely redoing their website and how some of the Model B affiliates might be able to have a page on the NAMI Colorado website. I think it would be great if we had a page, even if it's just one page for all of the NAMI on campus clubs across the state, so that I feel like it's really helpful for, especially when you're talking about things like turnover, if you have to have students not only take over these officer positions, but then learn which website to update and do all this stuff. I think having NAMI Colorado own that page and they could just say, hey, we had a change in leadership or change in contact info or whatever is on that page would be really helpful. And that's where anyone in Colorado who's searching for college mental health services or something, that page could come up and then they could find their closest resource. So that's an idea I think might be worth looking into.
I think that's a really good point. I know, and he does it, but I know students, when they look up NAMI CMU, the first thing that comes up is Dr. Jones's information. And I think it's helpful that, like, yeah, that's great they're reaching out to him, but it's more helpful than they reach out to me, because I end up getting the emails either way. So I think that would, yes, he is our advisor and he's with us, but the person you need to be reaching out is to, like, your president or with the officers, because we as students, just that peer connection. But yeah, I think that's a really good idea just to help with that.
Yeah, and the students don't want to talk to me, right? So they contact me usually with, can you put me in contact with the president? And I do that. But yeah, streamlining that would be wonderful. What about the social media? Do you feel like NAMI could help any way with social media, Bella or Lily? Because it seems like there's a lot. I mean, your generation, I think in general, social media is a big thing. And it sounds like I know we're using a lot of social media. It sounds like Lily, y'all are using some of that too.
Yeah, I think I think the website is great too, but I think as well as if there was a like NAMI Colorado with like promoting the different chapters as well. So then not even like just if you were starting a new NAMI on campus or whatever, you had that resource to reach out to, like, oh, well, CMU has already been around, or CU Boulder, or whatever that may be. And I think that is, social media is just so big. I mean, that's how it is for us now. We're always on Instagram or Snapchat or whatever it may be. But I think Instagram is just a great way to connect students with each other and other clubs, like our other campuses, with each other too.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, I think I'm gonna make a note to the president and the other people on the board about expanding NAMI's social media influence right now. So I was thinking about it earlier too. I think that'd be like a great way to reach out to people. Like I know a website is great, but um, kids in this generation use social media a lot. And right now, with our club, like social media is kind of dead right now. So I think that's something we could definitely work on and expand as a resource.
What about connecting with each other? Do you guys feel like that's helpful or like just an additional, like, I don't know if twice a year maybe or something that Colorado NAMI on campus clubs would meet online and just have a conversation about what you're doing and share ideas, or does that feel like more work? I don't know, just an idea.
No, I definitely think it could be beneficial. It's always good to hear what other what other campuses are doing, because C Boulder could be, I mean, since they are completely online, they have far different barriers, and as we are struggling with our own events in person and they don't even get to have it, so luckily we do, but I think it gives us a different perspective of like, oh, maybe we could approach something like that on with our like on campus here, or that's a really good idea, or just to help each other, like bounce ideas off of each other. I think that would really help.
Yeah, I think if we could organize that somehow, like having communication between all of these NAMI clubs across Colorado somehow. And even if one of them can't attend, like at least we can be able to communicate through multiple clubs and get ideas off of each other, like you said, and um, see where we're all at. I think that's a good idea. Yeah. Have we done something like that before? Or
I don't think so. Not that any of us know of.
okay.
And I guess the question I have too is, I know NAMI National has started recently really putting more emphasis on NAMI on campus, and I'm curious, like, if they're planning on doing any kind of a meeting. As far as I've seen, they just send out kind of random emails about, we're looking for a speaker for a panel or something like that. But it would be cool if that was something that was like more of a national thing, that you guys could just all learn from each other and support each other instead of everyone having to come up with their own ideas all the time and kind of, like you said, be like an island. Um, just seems like that'd be helpful. So I can ask National if you guys are interested in that.
I think it would also, oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, you can go.
I was just saying, I think it would also just be super helpful, like if we were planning events, if there were like the same type of events at these different campuses, like, look, it's going on here and here and here, wherever. So it's not just like these single events. I don't know if that makes sense, but just to make it bigger, even if it's spread across different campuses.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of times that's how you get like media attention too.
Yeah.
And then it would get the word out more to the campus and the community. And so yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, I think expanding our networking across like different schools and also like within the same school. And I know it might be hard with connecting events from multiple locations that students don't have a way of transportation. But having like a Zoom event or something like that, or like networking within the school as well, like reaching out to different clubs that are related to mental health or the health field. Because I know, yeah, we connected with AED and that brought a lot of people involved. Um, yeah, just like expanding your networking and outreaching for sure.
So I think that could also lead to pooling of resources too, because my thought is, if we're going to look at COVID and some of the positive things that's come out of it, I think some of that is that we're all more comfortable with things like WebEx and Zoom and those things. And so my thought is like we could even pool resources together. CU Boulder and CMU pool our resources, and we get really, high quality speaker, and then we can live stream that event. They could go to CU Boulder and do the speech or wherever, but we record it and we live stream it, and then we could have more NAMI on campuses all across the nation could join and watch this event live.
Yeah. I love it, and especially virtual events like that, because even just finding somebody, booking them, figuring out the technical side of things, that's a lot of work. And if you can do it and then let every NAMI on campus group and all of the students at those colleges participate, yeah, that would be awesome. I think that's a really good idea.
And we can even like continue this outside of beyond the pandemic. I don't know when it's going to end, but I think like now is a better time than ever. And also just like continuing it out. I think like Zoom, WebEx, like virtually is a great way to connect with other schools that are spread apart and students all over the state. People who like it would be hard to have an in-person event or something like that. You definitely continue something like that.
So I don't know who is on the phone, but I know Bonnie, do you have any questions? I don't remember if you guys have a college near you that you're interested in trying to start an NAMI on campus there, because I believe right now you guys are the only two clubs in Colorado, as far as I know.
Well, yes, we do. We have CSUP, but where active mental health group is at the junior college. So there is a person at, or she was last year. I don't know whether she's graduated and what the status is. During COVID, we kind of lost track of what she's doing, but she had quite an active community college. So when you're thinking of colleges, it'd be nice if you're not just thinking university, but you're also thinking, of the junior colleges as well. And that would help you get into places like out in eastern Colorado where they don't have any four-year schools. But one of the things that she does, and that happened, it's a long time ago, 15 years, and things change in 15 years. But when I was in Texas at the University of Arlington, a woman started a NAMI on campus. And they met monthly, and they invited different professors from around the campus to come and give a talk on some aspect of mental health. And so they had things from schizophrenia down to how to, handle stress, during exam time. And she filled up the nursing rooms, the lecture rooms. So that is something that could, go during the pandemic, but it's also something that can be shared. In other words, we don't have to limit ourselves to the faculty at one college, but we got the faculty at all of the junior colleges as well as colleges who could speak to that issue. Also, I find that oftentimes when they're not in session, legislators are often willing to get time to speak.
That's a good idea. Did anybody else have questions? Bella and Lily and Dr. Jones?
Jake, with the pandemic, or when professors are working from home like yourself, do you find that it would be possible to have professor talks, or do you think it's a little challenging because you're juggling home and school simultaneously? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it is. I was just actually thinking of that point. We I think everybody is under stress right now, including professors, and we have also, at least as a campus, have been working on ways to help professors manage their stress levels, because many of them, as you know, we're embarking on new adventures and learning how to do our jobs in different ways, and so I think that's created a lot of stress all over campus, not only for faculty and students, but for staff and administrators and everybody else on the college campus. So I think right now, college campuses are a place that are full of stress, um, from every angle, and I think a lot of people are trying to figure that out. I'm actually doing a Facebook Live talk tomorrow for Earth School on some of these topics, for all of the um, for all of the faculty, staff, and students. And we have had some success in getting professors to come in. Usually, we don't. We haven't had a lot of success with events that are more like lectures, so to say, right? Because I think, and maybe Bella and Lily can speak to this, is students see that as just another class they have to go to sometimes. And so, where we've had success with professors, we have a great math professor who loves, what is the martial arts? I just blanked on it, but the slow moving martial arts. And he came in and taught the whole NAMI club how to do some of the martial arts, and they really love that. We had a yoga instructor who came in from the university, who taught our yoga class, who came in and led the whole club through yoga exercises and talked about the connection between yoga and mental health, and how it could be beneficial for your mental health. We had a English professor come in once who ran the meditation club on campus, and he came in along with some of his officers and taught the club some basics of meditation. So I think those have been very effective. I think right now there are definitely some barriers to getting professors to agree to go out of their way to do some of these events. But in the past, we have not had a problem, and I think most professors were pretty excited to be able to talk about these topics, and the students were excited to hear about them. But we've always tried to make it not like a PowerPoint presentation or anything like that, because I think that sometimes runs students off. But Bella and Lily, you might be able to talk about that a little.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I get lectured every day, every week. So, I mean, sitting through something
Sorry.
that's supposed to be, yeah, specifically one, sitting through another lecture for an hour about, I mean, I think it's just getting creative and finding ways to inform people, but as well as like getting the information, but not through lecture, because I mean, that's the last thing I want to do at the end of the day is sit through another hour lecture. And I think it is just getting it to be engaging. And when we were fully on campus, we could do games or whatever, and it was still like promoting the message. But right now, it is just having to get creative of how we're going to spread our message that we're conveying and everything without it being one, not necessarily boring, but just we want it to be engaging. And I think it is. I don't know, Lily.
Oh yeah, I agree. The lecture Zooms are becoming very monotonous, and yeah, a lot of students right now. And that could be one of the barriers of joining clubs, because like there are even some clubs that are like that. I'm a part of a club that's about like 100 people, so the president has a PowerPoint, and it's mostly kind of someone talks and everyone else listens. Which I think the cool thing about NAMI is that we're a very interactive and like discussion based club, which is a really nice like break throughout the day. And even if we have a PowerPoint on like a topic like schizophrenia, anxiety, bipolar disorder, or mental health with veterans, something like that, we integrate like questions within the slides that we can like open up and talk about really like important stuff to people. And I think that's one of the things that draws people in. Really, I know later in the year Fernando's right now like booking some speakers to come in. So I think that's a good idea too, to kind of build on this discussion. And if we can get like professors and mental health experts and providers, it's a really cool way to expand that conversation, not just within students, but other people and professionals.
Okay, well, we're getting near the end, so I guess each one of you, if you have some parting words to either say what we can do. I've typed in the chat a lot of stuff we've discussed as how-tos, but you know, if there's any last words you want us to keep in mind, that'd be great. Who wants to go first?
So one thing I wanted to mention, just for people out there who might be consider, advising a NAMI on campus club, is it changes, and it changes every year, right, with the students, and I think we have found the success that we have found because it has been student led. And there are some years where I'll have a group of students in the club who are much more focused, like this year with Bella, on helping with what's going on campus with mental health issues and continuing that conversation and being involved, like we said, with the students with quarantine, and that's their priorities. And then there's other years I've had groups of students who it was more geared towards, just getting together and supporting each other. And it wasn't as broad and education based. It was more of what we would say a support group, of where we had a good core group of 10 to 20 kids, and they enjoyed each other and getting together and supporting each other. And we've had very successful and very productive years going that way too. And so I really view NAMI on campus as a lot of times being two very different clubs. Some years it's about really getting that message out there and to the whole campus and really being visible and providing some more of the support services to all of campus. And then other years it's about the club members and the club members just supporting each other. And I think it's very useful both ways. And I have worked real hard not to put my own beliefs or biases into the club, and just let the students determine what they think will be most useful to them throughout the school year.
Yeah, I would just have to say, biggest thing, network and put your name out there, and I don't know, just get connected with people. I mean, it's hard right now, but do what you can through social media, Instagram, whatever platform works for you. Just get connected and make people aware that you're there and you're there to help, and there's a place for them to go if they need to just talk or whatever it may be, or we have resources. Just make people aware that you are present, I guess, is what I would say.
And then people reach out to you, right? We get a lot of people reaching out to us without any, they just send us random emails.
They do.
Yeah, I think, one of the bigger concepts I think we touched on too is like just to let like students know that they're not an island, and that like we have resources, we have clubs, there's things that we can do to network and to reach out. And I think now more than ever, just letting people know that they have those resources. And because mental health is difficult right now with the pandemic and with quarantining and all the public health orders, and there's a lot of uncertainty during this time, and we don't know what's going to happen next. We don't know what the administration is going to come out with us. But yeah, just trying to let people know that there's resources and everyone's going through the same thing.
Well, thank you all for joining us. I certainly glad that I have some tips to hopefully energize other schools, whether community college. God, if Red Rocks was 4-year, I probably would have got my degree there. I love this community college, so I'm all for it. So hopefully we could stay connected, and hopefully CU and CMU can keep in touch, and we'll hopefully add to that. All
Thank
right.
you all so much.
Definitely. Thank you guys.
Yep. Thank you all for organizing it.
Thank you all for coming.